let's shift over to that idea of the bacteria and these different, as you call them, the different parasites that we
Mhm.
have. And
Yeah.
you say there's five of these different types of opportunistic parasites that wreak havoc on people's health. And can you go into that a little bit more, and what is the prevalence of these parasites in the clients and patients you see?
Well, we have five parasite categories.
Right.
Okay. First, we'll deal with worms. People do get worms. I'm sorry to say, the
Oh,
animal,
yeah.
especially if you have animals that are in your house and they're sleeping in your bed, it's very common to get parasites. So get ready to do a parasite cleanse at least once a year.
Mm.
Okay. So worms are prevalent. Then we have fungus. Oh, by the way, worms, let's go back to worms. And I use this finger, this finger. It's the earth finger. Worms are connected to the earth element.
And
So
that's your
what do we,
pinky for those who aren't, yeah, able to see it, right?
oh, okay.
No, it's fine.
So the the pinky finger or the earth finger, it's the finger that represents earth in Ayurveda.
Mm.
It's the element of earth. So when we know that we have parasites or worms, when we know we have worms, we use the earth element, which is herbs. The best way to clear worms is through herbs.
Herbs. Makes sense.
Okay. Then we have the next finger, our ring finger, okay, is the water element. And that is fungus. Water is connected to fungus. It's that swamp, that swampiness, it's that dampness that the acupuncturists talk about. So
Mm-hmm.
that's fungus. And we use the water element in the water element is connected to the emotions. Candida, especially, is very connected to emotions. I want that sugar. I want. So we need to work on our emotions if we're stuck in a candida mess. You know, it takes sometimes 9 months to clean out candida. It's a slow process. And I talk about candida in the book a lot because that is the number one difficulty with the diet is when they have candida because they crave sugar, they crave bread. So that's our second. I'm doing these briefly. I mean, I go
Yeah.
into detail in the book, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have bacteria. Bacteria is the fire element, the middle finger. It is the fire element.
Yep.
And when we're doing polarity, we're using our fingers as the elements on the body to balance the body. We do it on the cranial. We do it throughout the body, and we understand this. So the bacteria is connected to the fire, and bacteria, when that happens, it usually turns into infection. So how we treat that infection is really important. I use homeopathy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, treat the fire. If there's infection, you may want to use belladonna. That's a fire remedy. Okay. Next, microscopic parasite, air element. This is the air element. This pointer finger is our connection to air. So this microscopic parasite could be spirochetes, it could be amoeba, it could be any of the flukes, anything that we don't see with the naked eye. Mm-hmm. And what is the treatment? We use air as the treatment. That's when ozone comes in. That's when, that we treat even infections by deep breathing, by the oxygenating herbs, oxygenating formulas. And there are many, and I'm not going to go into them. So that's the microscopic parasite. For instance, in Lyme disease, I use oxygenating herbs, which I use cayenne and cranberry for my herbs for Lyme disease. Okay, now very, very well known these days, parasite, because parasites are anything that lives on you. We're the host, they live on you. So we have virus.
Yep.
Okay. The virus is connected to the ether. That is the most subtle of all elements. And the ether and the etheric force field of the earth is what we're talking about here. So viruses come in on the ether to give us information. But are we sovereign in ourselves to be able to withstand this, to understand the information, but to process it? Okay. It is not something to be afraid of. It's actually something to be grateful for. So viruses, we know when someone has herpes, for instance. Herpes, once you get a virus, it's in you. You don't get rid of a virus. You get a flu, you're going to get flu toxins come in. So, okay, you get herpes. Okay, I'm going to eradicate herpes. Good luck. Because that doesn't happen. You might think you eradicated by putting yourself on Zovrex for the rest of your life, but you still have the herpes.
Right.
So, but we are able to deal with the herpes by overcoming it, by being stronger than it. If the herpes comes out, there's something in your life that you've done to aggravate it, because it is the most spiritual of all the elements. It's our connection to spiritual world. I have said, and I've said it many times in different podcasts, the way to overcome virus is to look at the spiritual part of it. So fighting a virus is a spiritual fight. It's not just, okay, take this or take that. No, we're going to strengthen our body, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, anything that's oxygenating, like andrographis of herbal medicine. I use a non-toxic part of the quinine plant. And so this understanding of virus in general, I'm not talking about what's going on now in the world, because that's much more complicated that we probably should not get into. But understanding the nature of virus is important to know that you can overcome it, that build the spiritual will. It's building the spiritual will is how you will overcome the virus. That's how you keep your herpes under control. I grew up during those years.
I mean, so many people are impacted, and viruses are in all of us. Viruses are everywhere. We have to realize that.
And we've been injected with viruses.
Of course. And so it's a part of our lives.